Okay, welcome to our first lesson on electrical circuits. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how we're going to build electrical circuits. And the first thing that we need to build electrical circuits is some way of connecting things up easily. And what we're going to use to connect things up easily is a thing called a breadboard. Same name as the thing you chop your bread on at home, but it's slightly different in terms of function. When you look at one of these things, you'll see that it's full of little holes all the way along here, and it looks a bit complicated to start off with, but it's actually relatively simple, and it is very convenient for making electrical circuits without us having to use crocodile clips or tape or soldering connections together to make things stick together. This allows us to plug components into the board so that they're all connected electrically. And it's very handy for prototyping electrical circuits. And a lot of people, this is the first place they build any of the electrical circuits for their inventions. So it's a really handy thing to learn about. Now let's pop over to the desk here and have a look at this thing. So what you'll see is I have colored in the holes on this side. All the holes along here, you see there's a red line already printed onto the breadboard, but I've connected up all these holes with a red line because those holes are all connected together. And they will all, if I stick something into this end of, here's a wire with a little pin on it, and I can stick it into that end of the red line, and this wire is connected to everything on that red line, all of those points. So if I stick this onto the positive end of my battery, and this is usually what we use the red line for here, then all of these holes here become a positive terminal to the battery. And I can connect up as many circuits as I like to those positive holes. All right. So the same thing obviously is going to apply to the blue line. These are all connected up together, and I can take a blue wire and I can stick that into the hole there. I can connect this up to the negative end of my battery and I will have power running from the red into the blue. Now currently these two are not connected together because the red line is not connected to the blue line. So what does this mean? Well, what it means is that I can have my battery now and I can forget about it. That I've got my power into the board. And this red line now becomes a positive terminal and the blue line becomes a negative terminal for the battery. So how is that useful? Well, it's useful because if I take a bulb, and in this case I'm using an LED. Now we mustn't connect an LED directly to a battery because it's not the right power source for an LED, and we'll talk about that later. But this is just as an example. So I'm taking a light bulb here, and I can connect it theoretically. If it was just an ordinary light bulb, I could connect it to the two lines. And so what you'll see is that the electricity is coming in from the positive terminal. The current's coming in here. It's going up the leg of the LED, down the other leg of the LED, and back to the negative terminal of the battery. So that's a completed circuit. Now we normally don't do that because we want to put other components into the circuit. So that's what these holes are for. Now you see I've colored in this line green. Well, that column means that all of those holes are connected together. So let's see if we can make our circuit a little bit more convenient. I can take my LED and my light bulb, if you like, and I can connect it into one end of the green holes. So I've put it into the hole that's just here at the end of this column. And now I have all of these holes here are connected to that leg of the LED. And all of these holes here, on 41 if you can read that, are connected to the other leg of the LED. And now all I need to do is connect up the one leg to the positive, so I put it into my red rail, and that gets positive a current coming into my LED, and then I connect up the other leg to the negative rail. And so what you can see now is that the power is coming from the battery down into the red row, and all of these are now positive. I'm taking a positive current out of the red row and putting it into column 39 on the breadboard, which connects up with the LED leg. The other leg of the LED is in column 41, and the orange wire is connecting 41 to the negative terminal of the battery. So as you can see, it's a very clever little way of connecting up lots of components. Now let's say I wanted to put something in between the LED and the positive leg of the battery, and I would normally put a resistor in here, but I've got this thing here. It's just a component for detecting light. And what I do is put one end of this into 39, which is the same row as the positive end of the LED, and I'm going to take the other end of it and put it into another column. All right, so it's now in column 35, and I now connect up the negative end of the positive line to the end of this component here. So what we can see, and it's probably a little hard, but what we can see is that the power is coming in from the battery, the current's coming in, it comes out the white wire into the leg of this light sensor. The light sensor is now connected to the LED, so the current's going to go from the light sensor to the LED, and then that's going to go back to the negative terminal from the other end of the LED back to the battery, and we have a completed circuit. This is not a circuit that anybody would use. I'm just using these components as examples, but you can buy all sorts of components to plug into breadboards. For example, we get various sensors and things, and quite a lot of them come with 3 terminals, and each of these terminals has to be connected up to something different. These are for electronic devices that you build using microcontrollers or a Raspberry Pi. And you'll see that these 3 terminals on the end of the component will slot nicely into the breadboard, and if you give it a gentle push, it will sit there. And now to connect up to your 3 terminals, you use the 3 columns. So to summarize, the red things here that I've got all colored red, the horizontal row at the end of the breadboard is all connected together. The blue row is all connected together. The red and the blue are not connected together. And each of these columns in green is connected to the other 4. So these are columns of 5 connections all connected together. We have a repeat of the whole thing on the other side. And quite often breadboards just come that size, and they're, if you're not making a terribly big circuit, which we won't be, but unfortunately most of ours are this size. And of course we have coordinates on the board so that we can write down exactly where all our components are connected up. For example, A42 would be the first hole in that green column. Anyway, that's an introduction to breadboards. You'll find more information on breadboards online if you go looking, and I'm sure that you can find plenty more videos that will take you through that. But that's a very quick introduction to breadboards, and hopefully in our class meeting we'll have a chat about how we're going to practice this under lockdown. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that lesson, and I'll see you soon in the next lesson.